All right, everybody, I'm going to do a soulmates and separation reading for the rest of this year's retrograde that's taking us from August into September for soulmates in separation. So I know this year has been quite an upheaval for soulmate partnerships, and we're just going to look under the hood because the retrograde, there can be a lot of miscommunication that happens, a lot of misunderstandings, crossed wires, um, when people declaring love, might come off as too too pushy or too insensitive to another person's situation or scenario. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look under the hood and see what we can take care of in terms of our own um, understanding of the situation, what each partner is kind of going through at the moment, so we can have some context with how to move forward after retrograde. Mercury in retrograde is over, especially post the solar eclipse, which I think brought a lot of people to their knees, energetically speaking. Just a lot of like cleaning house and a lot of baggage resurfacing. If you're like me, it was like, oh my god, like I thought I got rid of that thing. It's like going through the attic or the closets and finding a dress from childhood, and you're like, wow, I still have that thing. Oh my god, I gotta get rid of that. Like I had no idea that was still there. That's what it feels like. And it might make you feel really nostalgic, bring back some old memories, some old triggers, and make you feel a little weepy or just frustrated, and just bringing up some old stuff to the surface is what I'm feeling that the solar eclipse did for a lot of people, and the lunar eclipse earlier in the month. So I'm doing a relationship spread of my own devising. So the top row will be your partner, the bottom row will be you, the far left will be the cosmic or divine messages, and the far right will be the outcome for the retrograde itself. And then I'll pull 2 oracle cards and maybe some runes at the end to just give everybody a little bit of guidance. I feel like telling everybody to just, take a knee for the next, 10 or 11 days, however long we have left. We're about halfway through the retrograde, and I think a lot of us are feeling the burn right now, especially if you're not communicating with your partner at the moment, if you all aren't speaking, or you're separated at a distance because of work or just travel, and you all are missing one another because you're in different time zones or something like that. It can feel like that person is not as invested as you are, that they're not even thinking about you, like out of sight, out of mind. And the thing is with a soulmate partnership, whether you consider yourself like in a twin flame scenario, or just a karmic partnership with someone, you feel their pull. You can feel them thinking. You can feel them processing things and going about their day, and you feel the connection. So the problem is when the drawbridge is up, you don't really know what they're thinking about with regards to you. And some people just take a little bit longer to process. I know that some people are working on their foundation. They're trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to actually make this work? Given the context right now, it might have moved into a different phase, or just, again, like it could be because, things come up, life stuff happens. I'm feeling like some soulmates are probably going through a little bit of depression is what I'm getting. It could be because of the loss of a relative or a loved one, and, your partner, you may feel separated, even though you're sitting in the same room. They might have this far off look in their face, and you can just tell they're not emotionally present with you, because they're processing something else. So we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of it. So the top row, you'll see 4 cards, and then you'll see another card on the edge, and that's what they're bringing to the relationship. So the row is more about where their head is right now, and then what they're contributing to the partnership. Okay, but first let's look at the bottom of the deck. Okay, so we have the Ace of Rods. So we have a new offer. We have a new offer that's coming on the table. Ace of Rods is a gift. It's renewed vigor, renewed passion. Now, for you and your soulmate, it looks to me like, well, this is a divinely inspired offer. So it's like they kind of get the wind back in their sails, and they are either considering making this offer to you, very passionate. was it arduous? No, not arduous. What's the word? I can't think of it right now. Ardor, when you have ardor for something. I don't want to mess up the pronunciation, but anyway, it looks like it's very enthusiastic with this giant rod here. So, which denotes passion and creativity and just inspiration. The fires are lit. You or your partner might be willing to make a second go at this. I feel like for some people it's a new phase coming in, perhaps because the end of a cycle has just completed, and it's like, okay, if you're in the partnership and you're wondering, is this something that we can take forward? Can we start over? Can we start anything at all if you just met this person? The underlying energy is that this is a cosmic gift. It's a divinely protected gift. It's a big idea, coming. It's inspiration. It's an epiphany that is being extended to you. And this comes after a period of maybe combativeness. So I'm feeling like there was a disagreement or an argument that it proved divisive. Or again, it could just be a misunderstanding where you felt like you had to be defensive with your partner. Perhaps over looking forward into the future, are we going to do this together or not? A real imbalance in the energies. I'm feeling like there's, people on all sides were put in a position where they had to go against their nature, which makes sense because, a lot of signs have been really struggling this year because everybody's been booted off of their swing of complacency and just used to old habits, old behaviors, old thought patterns. Every sign right now is being asked to grow by being challenged with the opposite of their element. So if you're used to strategizing and analyzing a situation, it's like the universe is asking you to go from your gut. How do you feel? If you're used to, operating from I feel this way, and you might come across as more impulsive to your partner, you're being asked to think about things more intentionally and consider the ramifications of your actions on the other partner. So I feel like it's been very difficult for both parties to do this. I feel like there has been some resistance to, in terms of communication, particularly during the retrograde, it may feel like people are reconsidering, is this worth it? Great, it's my soulmate, but this might be more trouble than what it's worth. I'm out of my element here. So what I'm getting right now is a lot of people are in the place during the retrograde where it's what am I doing this for? It could be you guys had your first fight, or it could be that there is a new topic that came up in the partnership that you guys had not had to confront before. And it just brought a side out of both of you all that was can we go back to when we were making kissy faces at each other? And so you start to see, not the gloves come off, but you start to see the mask come off because, we wear masks to ourselves. We mask ourselves. We have lenses and filters and all kinds of fun things that you can alter your appearance, even on the phone, and I think a lot of people tell themselves stories to make themselves feel justified in their actions. So I'm getting the image that you all are standing, you're standing, okay, so in movies where someone is looking into a mirror and then they see someone else's face in the mirror, they don't see their own face. That's a little bit what it feels like. It's either that person is bringing something out in me through their behaviors that doesn't feel like me, but I know it's because of me. It's you recognize aspects of yourself in your partner that you may not entirely feel favorable. And so the question is, during this retrograde, do I want to look at that? Do I want to look at that side of myself? Is this person worth kind of looking under the hood and being woo, that's a little bit of a mess, isn't it? So any messages with regard to also balance and stability within the relationship, it looks like finances are taking priority. So for those of you who are looking for those love messages to hit, your partner may just not, it's like the love language is different, right? So like your partner is thinking, well, I am demonstrating love to them by, you know, stacking my money and wanting to make this a sustainable partnership, while you're like, yes, but tell me how you feel. Do you love me? And they're like, I'm showing you how much I love you. And your love language might be you need verbal affirmation. So it's really about balancing the scales and making sure that you all understand how one another communicate in love, how you give love, and how you like to receive love. So I think people are at a bit of a ceasefire right now. If you're in separation, you're thinking about it, you're trying to get the alchemy right. Somebody may be holding on to their resources energetically and physically at the moment, more than the other person. It's like you're like ready to like get married, even if you just met this person. And the other person is like, well, until I feel independent and stable, in my own right, I don't think that I have anything to contribute to the situation. So they may be feeling like they're building their resources, they're building their capital, and they can't commit to a formal union until they get to a place where it's like their worldly status is in direct correlation to how well they can feel and express themselves emotionally. Like they feel much more stable emotionally when they know that they have something concrete to back it up. And so that's their focus. And right now, you're feeling like, oh goodness, a bit possessive, I think, a bit obsessive, feeling overburdened, perhaps that you are demonstrating more of the passion in the partnership. Obviously, you might be the one that's all about the love letters and making the love playlists and, nesting and picking flowers. You might be the romantic in the partnership in like a more traditional sense. And they're like, it's like your gestures are not falling on deaf ears, but it's like it feels like you're overcompensating for their lack of maybe interest in the way you feel comfortable having love expressed. So, in other words, they're not externally demonstrating love the way you like to have love demonstrated to you, and that's forcing you to kind of overcompensate, but it's also drying you up and making you feel overburdened. Like, why do I have to carry this by myself? Why am I the passionate one? And it's not that they're not passionate, it's just on the surface, they just maintain their composure really as a protective device, because they can't, it's like they don't like to take risks, showing sides of themselves that are vulnerable or exposed. It doesn't mean they're not deep. It doesn't mean that they don't feel deeply. It just means that the external expression of that is just not, it's not how you do things. But don't worry, because the cycle isn't over yet, okay? So if you're a little overwhelmed creatively and you feel like, you've been sort of overlooked by the cosmos, because I feel like for a lot of you all, this came very suddenly, and now it's starting to slow down to the pace where it's supposed to go. Like, so for instance, say you're on a weight loss regimen and you're starting a new diet, and you get really excited because the first 2 weeks, say you lose 6 pounds the first week and 7 pounds the next week, and you're like, yeah, like it's working, right? And then you come to find out it's water weight. And so to get that, to actually lose like 2 pounds the next week, the third week, those are the real pounds of fat or whatever that you're trying to like get rid of. That takes a little more work. So it kind of feels like this. It's like you guys had a really lustful and passionate beginning, and now things are starting to level out as you both look at like, okay, if we both want this, how do we come up with concrete strategies to make this something sustainable? And there's nothing like sucking the air out of the room of love than, the bottom line, bank account balances and, to-do lists at work and other obligations outside of the family dynamic or the relationship dynamic that you guys are sort of, it's like we have the connection, but like there's still a world out there. It's kind of like waking up out of a dream, you know, and realizing that, wow, the world is not technicolor, the world is black and white, and we have to find the technicolor within. You know, we have to carry that with us into the world. So this feels like a leveling out, a balancing of scenarios, you know, to combine two lives, you know. And again, if you're in separation, that's going to take a little more work than if you just met one another in the city. Or if you're already together, it might be more comfortable to like kind of fall into business as usual operations with your soulmate. Like, well, we'll just kind of like phone it in. But if something has happened or occurred that has kind of changed up the dynamic, and it's like renewed feelings of passion for your partner, if you guys are expressing that to one another, and then it's like, okay, like you might have gone on vacation or renewed your vows or something like that, and then it's like you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, well, we still have to like pay the electric bill, you know, that kind of thing. That's the vibe that I'm getting. And then you take things personally. So if someone makes a comment about you or shuts you down or isn't communicating, it feels like a personal indictment, you know, like a personal, you take it personally. Like, are you insulting my character? No, I just asked you to like pull the trash bins in. You know, like there's nothing to do with it. Like, so it's right now it's looking like, you know, things have kind of come to a halt, and you both are realizing there's no shortcut here. And so with the retrograde, there might be old baggage cropping up that you guys haven't had to deal with yet or deal with in a while, and it's shaking you all's foundation. So any lovey-dovey vibes is at the moment maybe being overshadowed by past hurts, past sorrows. Again, re-examining your financial foundation, and it's really kind of making you feel a bit lackluster in the romance department. You have to be careful with those feelings, because, you know, those lovey-dovey feelings are chemicals that are being released in our brain, and they're there for a reason. Oxytocin, dopamine, and I forget the other one. The combination is there for a reason. It's there to, you know, physiologically identify a potential mate, good mate, you know. So when that stuff, it's like a drug. So when it wears off, you do go through withdrawal symptoms. And what it could bring up is if, you know, we have more than one soulmate. So it's like if you've been training your whole life with other partners, and now you meet somebody who is like maybe past partners in a way, because you have soul connections with them too, because you guys are here to heal one another, trigger one another, so you all can heal and level up out of karmic, you know, debt. Or you are being triggered by kind of this person who may be sharing some of the same traits as past partners, and your challenge is to stop dwelling on those past partnerships and take this person for who they are and what they are, even if they're reminding you of like old pathological patterns with other people. Because, you know, they may say something and be like, oh my God, my ex said that same thing. It drove me crazy, you know, and it might have you dwelling on past circumstances and making you feel like, okay, we're going to break up because that relationship ended. You know, that's not necessarily the case here. I think it's just a matter of there being an imbalance in terms of priority and like what you all value as individuals. So if one partner does not feel stable financially, and they don't feel like they're your equal, it could be a career thing. You know, they may see you in a different light even than you see yourself. And I was watching that show Derek. I was rewatching Derek and Hannah and Tom. I don't know if you guys have seen this on Netflix. But Hannah and Tom, you know, Hannah's like, don't you get on that boat? Like, Tom has to leave and he's going to be gone for like 6 months. And she's like, if you get on that boat, like... you know, it's over. And so Tom is like, I have to have a job. You know, he's like, I guess a sailor. He's like, I have to work. You know, you're stable, you have a job. And she's like, no, I need you to be present. I need you to be here. I don't want to be in a relationship with a text message or a screen, you know. So right now, well, and at the end of that, Tom is like, he ends up staying. Um, Hope I didn't ruin that for anybody if you haven't seen it. But he ends up staying, and he says to the camera, because it's filmed like documentary style. He's like, I just really don't understand women. Like, I'm thinking she wants me to have a good foundation, but she doesn't care what I do. She just wants me to be present, right? And so um, that seems to be a very similar scenario. So while some people are working really hard at work, their emphasis might be too much on work, and the partnership suffers in the other person's eyes because they want the emotional fulfillment. That's what they're looking for. So there has to be a balance. I do see the end of a cycle here. I do see a leveling out. Once the end of this retrograde is coming into fruition, I think people will have a better idea of which direction to go. Just be careful that one person doesn't give up their power in the pursuit of the soulmate partnership. But I feel like it's going into a more grown-up phase. So it's like you guys started off with preconceived notions of what soulmate partnerships should look like. They're supposed to look like the movies. And then it's like this process is growing everybody up to find balance between who gives and who takes. My cat is... Archie, you're killing me, dude. He likes to play under the covers while mommy does readings. Okay, hang out, bro. Okay? All right, so a lot of options here. I do see a new stable offer. So it's like all the work is worth it. It's going to just take a little while to balance out, okay? But I do see something productive materializing after the retrograde. Okay, so that's just a little bit of context. But for right now, we're looking at the Ace of Rods upright at the bottom of the deck. And I'm actually going to pause this for a minute because that... the guy's been like, I don't know if he's like doing weeding, trimming his weeds or blowing leaves, but he's been doing it for like 2 hours. So it's like, dude, you have half an acre lawn. It shouldn't take that long. All right. Well, I don't think he's going to be done anytime soon. So I'm just going to like put the mic closer to my face and hopefully you guys aren't picking up too much of that background noise. Okay. So we're going to start with your partner side. They have the top row. We're just going to flip over the top row. Justice in reverse, the Devil in reverse, the King of Swords upright, Nine of Cups upright. Nice. So, right now it's looking to me like the jury's still out with this Justice in reverse in terms of what's going on in their own life. It's like they're trying to balance their own life out. They've had to overcome a lot of probably inner demons to get to this point, and I'm feeling like they're doing it because of you. They're not really expressing that with the King of Swords here, but you are their wish come true. Look how happy that Nine of Cups guy is. He's feeling very, it's like I'm hearing trophy wife. It's like you are the crown jewel in his collection of wishes come true. But because he still knows, this King of Swords still knows that he has work to do before justice can prevail. See how the Justice card, even though it's in reverse here, has the sword, and the King of Swords is holding his sword. He still has work to do. He's already slain some monsters here, and now he's waiting to make sure that there's the all clear. He's in a protective stance. He has a very firm gaze. It's air. It's analytical energy. But the thing I like about this particular depiction of the King of Swords, because usually you see the King of Swords like in the Rider-Waite, and he's in like full armor, and then he has his crown, and he's sitting on that throne. I like this depiction of the King of Swords because it kind of gives you an idea a little bit more about what the King of Swords is fighting for, because he has these like sheafs of wheat in his hand next to the sword. So the idea here, and all his greenery around him, I think those are like, I don't know, holly bushes maybe? Juniper? I don't know. Anyway, it's showing that he's the kind of king that doesn't just sit inert on a throne somewhere, okay? He's actually in the fields inspiring the people around him, willing to protect them, but also willing to like help them plant and reap the rewards of all their hard work. So he's a very hands-on king in this deck, but he does it analytically and he does it with precision, right? So in order to balance out or level out, because look behind him, it's not that he's turning his back to his wish. It almost feels like he can't show the world his secret wish until the scales are balanced, and of course that, the term divine timing comes into mind. There may be circumstances outside of his control. So if he has these sheaves of wheat in his hand, he might just be waiting for harvest. He might be waiting for things to grow, waiting for the seasons to change so he can actually, instruct everybody around him, what the next step is. But that doesn't mean that he's completely ignoring how he feels about you, your wish come true. And I'm saying he because I'm talking about the King of Swords, but obviously you can use this interchangeably depending on gender, whoever your soulmate is, because they're just embodying this King of Swords energy right now, okay? It feels like you're getting the cold shoulder. It's not that. It is because that is a private part of them. The King of Swords, again, it's air energy, it's analytical, can feel cold, but the cups are very warm and expressive, and like this guy's face is rosy and just he's so satisfied. He's like kind of chunky and like he got all those cups, he made all those cups, and like he found them and they're his, and he can just enjoy them in private. So your soulmate may be a very private partner, a private person who doesn't really show the world. Now think about it this way. So if a king can't necessarily let everybody up in their business because they have, they've invested a lot into their kingdom and their public image is important to them for whatever reason. They may have they may be a manager or in a position of power or operating like that where what they present to the world has an impact on how they progress. So the downside to this is that your king here, your King of Swords soulmate, it's almost like they feel like their deepest feelings are a weakness or a liability. When they have to be strong and brave, they have to again, defeat the monsters within and without, conquer, and it's again, just a very analytical stance. And so they may not prize, this emotional side of themselves. They keep it tucked away because it's private. And if they expose that, it's almost like they're showing their hand. They're thinking in terms of strategy right now. All right. So again, that feels like their love language is more oriented in service. That's how they express love, as opposed to, talking about it. This guy's very close-lipped. He looks very austere and very stern and very resolute. But clearly they've come through a lot if this devil card is in reverse, on the partnership's behalf. But notice how all of these figures are alone. Your partner thinks they have to do it themselves. So it's heavy is the head that bears the crown. They're thinking in their heads they have to do this alone. All right, so let's look at your row. A lot of reversals, and the one card you want to see in reverse is not. So, all right, so you have the Page of Pentacles in reverse, the Four of Cups in reverse, the Nine of Wands in reverse, and the Eight of Swords in reverse. So their closed lippedness is really defeating to you, and it's making you feel like you can't move, and you can't trust your intuition anymore, especially because I'm seeing wands and cups here. I'm seeing all four elements represented. So it's almost like you have more of a distribution of all of the elements, everything that it takes to manifest, but not in the right order right now because they're not communicating to you what it is they want from you. So the Page of Pentacles in reverse, it may feel like they rejected you or an idea that you had recently to start something new. you're over here like, is this even worth it at the moment with the Four of Cups in reverse? Like, is this truly a soulmate partnership? Is this a gift that has been given to me? Is this for me? Do I feel like waiting? You know, is it worth the work? Is it worth sitting still and waiting for them to figure it out, how to communicate? I've planted all these things and I don't feel like I'm getting the return on my investment with this Nine of Swords and the Nine of Wands in reverse. I've planted all this stuff, and why don't I feel like I'm reaping the harvest of, you know, my diligence and my attendance to this partnership, which is leaving you in Eight of Swords energy, which is completely confined. Unable to speak, unable to move, don't know what to say, tongue-tied, bound, don't know where to make a move. Okay, so this is not looking, sorry guys, this is not looking like there's a lot of communication happening at the moment, but you probably already know that. They're looking a lot more determined and satisfied. Your side is looking a lot less certain of anything at the moment because you just don't know. You have no idea. It's like, I don't need a lot of guidance. I just need a little. Like, what direction are we going? Are we swimming back to the boat or are we going to the island? You know, which way are we going here? Give me a sign. So show signs of life, signal flare, something. And that just might not be in their nature again, because if they're thinking strategically about how to protect their own emotional investment, they may be distracted with that at the moment. It doesn't mean they're not thinking about you. It just means that on the exterior, they're operating through the world in a different way. And again, this is a side of you that this is a side of them, or whatever the current circumstances are that have cropped up at the moment. It's like you haven't seen this side of them yet, or like to this extent where you're concerned. It feels like wow, like I didn't even know you could do that. Like I didn't know you could shut down all the way like that. You know what I mean? So, all right. So let's see what they are bringing to the partnership with this top card. Empress in reverse. So yeah, you know, so the Empress upright is completely fertile and abundant and able to manifest, emotionally, just very giving. And right now, all of their resources are being tied up to like slaying dragons. So they're not in the headspace to offer or to take the Ace of Rods right now, the new beginning, because that's just not where their head is. Okay. It doesn't mean they're never the Empress. It just means like right now they're the King of Swords. They're heading more towards Emperor energy than Empress energy. So if you are accustomed to seeing that Nine of Cups, ushy-gushy, warm, gooey center, right now you're not seeing that at all from them in the partnership. You're seeing someone who's more austere, more critical, more objective about the partnership in general. What you're bringing is the Three of Cups in reverse. So you guys are really bummed out right now about this, I feel. It's like, well, I was celebrating with my girlfriends and telling Tina and, you know, Lisa and them how awesome they were and how good they made me feel. And now it's like, oh, wow, complete 180. You know, they're not filling your cups. Some of you all might be kind of overindulging to compensate for your feels. So you might want to watch that. So yeah, this is kind of it's a bit of a stalemate, I have to say, during the retrograde, a kind of a ceasefire. There is forward motion on their side. It's like the King of Swords has to keep fighting and keep waiting and then keep fighting, and they're just battling through to get to that final outcome. They want balance. They want the ships to be righted, but I think that they may be reverting to old habits, how they usually operate, right? And you're just like, wow, even me, like that's how you deal with me too? Like I thought we were different. You know, we were just playing kissy face under the covers, you know, or holding hands, walking down the beach together. Like we just had these romantic moments, and you just did a complete 180 on me, you know? So I'm seeing just a real misunderstanding of how each person demonstrates love and how they like to have love demonstrated to them. Okay, so the cosmic or divine message, Page of Rods in reverse. So, so with the underlying energy being the Ace of Rods, a beginning, a new beginning, it's like the new beginning is imminent. The new direction is imminent, but it's not even in its page status yet. It's like in its infancy still. It's not quite time to take up that new beginning until this phase is sort of ironed out, and then you guys can debrief about it later. Like, okay, so like I understand that you were really busy at work, and like, you love me. I understand that now because you guys have, hopefully you'll start to talk again after the retrograde is over. In the future, I would really appreciate it if like you communicated to me this way so I don't feel so lost and alone in the partnership. Now, on the other hand, what they might not need from you right now is passion. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about, when you express love to someone, you ask them what they need from you. That's how you model unconditional love. It's not necessarily excusing someone's bad behavior. It's recognizing that they might show love in their own way. So while you want to come in with this romantic gesture, like, look what I found. I found this Ace of Rods, just came out of the clouds. It might be more like a little less enthusiastic along those lines and say, we have this new beginning, looming. What do you need from me? We've talked it all out. We figured it out. Moving forward into the next cycle, what can I do? And hopefully they're saying that to you too, and here's what you can do for me. And then you reach a new understanding. So right now the cosmic messages is like, either it's not the time to take the Ace of Rods into the future again. It's okay to sit this out. This is just for the retrograde. I'll probably do another Soulmates and separation afterwards to see what the aftermath effects will be. Because, we're going to be feeling those eclipse energies for several months to come. So till the end of the retrograde, and I think the shadow section of that is over on September 19th. Right now is not the time to like take the romance and just kind of shove it down their throats. It's to kind of like lean back a little bit, fall back, take a knee, and understand that this ace is being extended to you. It is divinely protected. It is a gift. But that doesn't mean you have to kind of squander it immediately. Else you risk dropping it, breaking it, whatever. So it's like, hold on, hold your horses. It's fiery, it's passionate. Temper that for the moment, okay? Until your partner and you kind of iron things out. What's the potential outcome? Ace of Swords in reverse. So this is, again, through the retrograde, this is Excalibur, it's a sword of truth. This is about taking your frontal lobe offline, okay? I don't see this in reverse being a bad thing. I think it's more about considering how do you feel about your partner. If you don't feel like this is something that can't be resolved, I'm sorry, if you feel like, okay, let me reverse that. If you feel like this is something that can't be resolved, it's okay to say, you don't have to feel bound. You can walk away. Even if it's just for the rest of the retrograde, and say, I'll come back when I can slice through this Gordian knot, okay? But if it feels like it's worth hanging out and just, not overthinking things so you can watch what they do, that means you're coming from a place of receptivity. You're not over analyzing or over strategizing on either side. You guys are just like being right now. So this is a gift that may not have to be used. It's like, the Ace of Swords is also a divine gift. So it's very interesting to start off with the Ace of Rods upright and to end with the Ace of Swords in reverse. You don't necessarily have to have a clear-cut direction at the moment, is the suggestion. That doesn't mean that you won't need clarity ultimately, because that we want to reverse that justice sword, right? Justice card. We want that sword to be right side up. So, for now, through September 5th, at least, if not through the 19th, don't force the communication. You might normally be an expert communicator, but for the moment, Mercury in retrograde is asking soulmates in separation to like take a knee, take your frontal lobe offline and stop overthinking everything. It's not as serious as all that is what I'm getting. All right. So I'm going to pull 2 oracle cards for both sides for you and your partner. First for them. Wow. Well, they got the Soulmates card. That's so precious. I love these Colette Baron Reid cards. They're so synchronous with my readings. It's scary. So if you guys were worrying about like, and it's so funny because I was thinking about Emperor Penguins the other day and they're on this particular card. So if you guys are worrying that they're not fighting for you or they don't care about you or they don't see you as their soulmate partner anymore, this is confirmation that they do. The essential meanings of this card are harmonious partnerships, love, friendship, companionship, a relationship fostering personal growth. Okay, so it's like this is what they're fighting for in their own way. The relationship message is consider love in the deepest sense. Love so powerful that you will never be the same regardless of how long your relationship lasts. Consider friendships and romantic bonds so compelling that they overwhelm you with gratitude or break you open so you will finally claim who you were meant to be. Even a companion animal reminds you that it is you who is being rescued and healed. Pay attention, for you are in the presence of a soulmate, come to guide you home to the real you. So they know the bond is there. And the thing about Emperor Penguins, everybody got crazy about March of the Penguins all those years ago, and how it was the female penguin that went away to go find food. It was like a role reversal, and the male is the one that sat there and kept the egg warm, and they were in separation for a very long time. And all the males had to huddle together and keep warm on their own until their partners came back. So this is the suggestion here. The guidance here is that the relationship is opening parts of them up that they might be new to them. They might be considering, okay, well, this might be a role reversal, might be imminent. If it's making them feel nurturing and protecting of those eggs, their nest, this is the best way they know how to protect it. And that's what you should take courage from. Okay, so the guidance for your partner is to allow the soulmate partnership to change you. All right. And yours, it's to just know that it is changing them, even if you can't see it on the surface. Take heart. They're learning. They're getting upgraded. Okay. They're learning how to express love languages in different ways, particularly if this is a new dynamic that, you've never experienced before, they've never experienced before. Everybody's getting rewired. It may not look like it on the surface. Again, they may be resorting to old power dynamics in order to protect themselves against the elements, but they're becoming really gushy and they feel really mushy about you, apparently. Okay, so for your side, the guidance is, I'm so sorry you guys are feeling so lost. I know that place. Treasure Island. Oh, look at all those little hearts around the treasure chest. All right. That leaf blower is going to drive me crazy. So, all right. So, Treasure Island, the law of attraction bringing dreams into fruition, the results of positive thinking made manifest, abundance appearing as if from nowhere, financial gains, and the sharing of good fortune. And the relationship messages is your relationship is a treasure, providing even more than you need, but you may not see that right now. No matter how long you've been together, you and your partner are always discovering hidden gems about yourselves and each other. Now is a time of discovery. It's as if everything is in sync and everything is new again. Romance blooms and love is in the air. You can be assured that this partnership will bring you great gifts and valuable lessons. Keep your heart open. The message of this card is to celebrate love and what it teaches you. Oh, gosh. So good. So good. So good. So just, have faith. Take comfort that you're not alone, even if you feel alone at the moment. All right, I'm going to pull an oracle. I'm sorry, not an oracle, a rune for you all. See what the Vikings have to say about all this. I find that the Vikings are very direct. All right, so for their side, they got the rune that stands for conflict, hardship, poverty, frustration, responsibilities. So, they're right now, they're kind of in the weeds, I think, and they're doing their best to come up out of there. And so again, looking at the soulmates with the emperor penguins, I'm just recalling, you guys remember some of those scenes from that film with just like the Arctic winds just blowing and blowing and blowing over these poor little daddy penguins, protecting their eggs with everything that they could, and like starving to death while waiting for the wives to bring back sustenance. I mean, so right now they're in the weeds. Even if they're not showing it to you or demonstrating to you, the one thing that is keeping them safe through all of this and mentally protected is the partnership. That's what they're fighting for. All right. Go easy on them is what I heard. Go easy on them. I think there's more to the story than you know. All right. You guys got air, leader, justice, teacher, intelligence, and communication. So I have no idea how to pronounce some of these, and I don't want to butcher them until I'm much more versed in rune lore. So in other words, you are going to have to show them a productive way of communication at this point. That's the suggestion that I'm getting from this. Usually one of the soulmates who's a little further along spiritually has to model what unconditional love looks like. Okay, so they have all the right instincts, but it's going to be your job to be patient with them. So it's like the image that I'm getting is like you're teaching them a new vocabulary, okay? So think about how when people are like physically ill. So think about a child when a child is physically ill at a very young age, and the child is screaming and crying, and the doctor says, okay, what hurts? And the kid doesn't know what to say. They're like, I don't know what hurts. It hurts. It just, all of it hurts, because they don't really have the vocabulary or understand what location of the body corresponds to that. So it might be a tummy ache, but they just have, it's the disassociation between pointing to their stomach and saying that is my stomach does not feel right. That they're not quite equipped with that just yet. They'll grow into that eventually. They'll develop the vocabulary and be able to be more specific about what hurts, but right now they don't. So, consider yourself in this particular instance is a bit more of a parental or healing hand or healing touch. So what you have to do is show them compassion, or like a wounded animal. If some of your soulmates have been through the ringer in life and they're wounded, it's like, cornering a wounded animal and them snapping at your hand because they think it's a threat. They don't understand that hand is there to help. So it's like continuing to be consistent and demonstrate and model compassion over and over and over again to this animal that's wounded so you can help them, as opposed to taking offense at the fact that they're just protecting themselves because that's all they know. All right? And keep your eye on the prize. The gift is the Ace of Rods. The gift is the new passionate beginning. The outcome and the guidance right now is to kind of pump the brakes on that part of it and wait for them to catch up, and don't overanalyze everything. Go from how you feel. Beautiful. Okay. I hope this helped you guys out, or you found some part of it useful. And I'm hearing, please don't play the blame game. Well, you did this and you did that. Like, don't do that when you guys start talking again. Okay? Come from the place of Thich Nhat Hanh. What do you need? In fact, you guys might benefit from getting that book, How to Love. by Thich Nhat Hanh. You can download it or buy it hard copy. And it might be a nice gift that you send to your partner. Okay? So, yeah, I hope you guys found this useful. I hope some of it resonated with you, and we'll see you on the other side of the retrograde.